Our guest for this evening is Patty Greer. Patty has had a fascinating life so far, and she's not even done. For 30 years, she was a singer and a songwriter. She was a pianist. The piano was my love. And she was also a harpist. She hurt her hands in 2005, and that has forced her to refocus. And what a refocus she has done. Her movie 2012, We're Already in It, won the prestigious '09 EBE Award for Best Feature Film from UFO related at the International UFO Congress Convention. It was also screened at the Mood Dance Film Festival in Boulder, Colorado. Wake Up Call, anybody listening, and that was about crop circles. I believe that was her first film, but she'll correct me if I'm wrong. And then she recently just put out another movie about crop circles with a 2012 update, and she has won 2 more awards at the 2010 conference. And Patty, are you there?
I am here.
Hello, hello. Welcome, welcome.
Thank you very much. It's kind of fun to sit back and just listen to my life go by.
You know, being a writer, I'm never good at like bios or anything like that, so I'm definitely going to let you plug yourself all the way here, all over the place tonight. Tell us about this awesome award that you have just won. Again, like 2 more.
Well, I never even thought about making movies in my life. I never held a movie camera, never even thought about writing a screenplay, but I laid in a crop circle in England in 2007. And 6 months later, I had a crop circle movie. 6 months after that, I had a UFO and ETs and abductees movie. 6 months later, I made a 2012 movie that started winning awards. And now here I am a year later with a 4th movie and a 5th almost done. And I had no social life. I don't know what hit me, but all of a sudden, after that day in the crop circles, all I wanted to do was take pictures and tell stories about UFOs, ETs, and crop circles. I know that I had an interesting download that day because my life completely changed, and it was instantaneous, which is pretty much how the crop circles are going down. But humans going into the formations and spending any length of time can't help but be affected. And what a gift it's been. And now I'm just starting to come out of it and start breathing and having life again, but my life really became just making movies, and in these 3 years I've just pretty much loaded my life into it 15 hours a day, just face down editing. And something that's really given me reason to believe that it's supposed to be my career is that the movies have seemed to make themselves. Everybody that I need shows up. I get an email, hi, I just saw your website and I've got these orb photos. Boom, I've got orb photos for the next movie. Everybody just seems to show up, and the movies are effortless.
That's phenomenal. You know, I love that kind of synchronicity. That's phenomenal.
Well, it seems like that's how we can tell when life is working, when we're on the right path. And there's other parts of my life this year alone where I've had really huge, shocking challenges. But again, we know that our mind is going to create our reality. So when I focus on those really challenging things, well, that's the kind of day I'm going to have. But I've kind of learned to step over the stuff that we don't want to really focus our minds on and move into all the time what I want to be working on. And that's why these movies have been such a gift, because they've just completely taken me out of the life that I used to have, which, you know, I mean, I'm in my midlife, and I knew I was ready for something entirely different, but nothing could have prepared me for this. So my third movie, 2012, We're Already in It. It did win Best Feature Film at the UFO Conference, which was a true confirmation that I'm supposed to be doing this. And then this year, I did a remake, a much better upgrade of my first movie because I had some phenomenal information in it. But I thought, because I'd never made a movie, that you stick the greatest stuff in the way back. So at 1 hour, 20 minutes, I really hit them with a big thing, and 1 hour, 20, people are tired. So I took the most phenomenal part, which is that the John Whaley footage of the most famous crop circle footage where 2 balls of light, you see them moving over a field, and this is the only human that I know of that actually got a full formation on camera. Most people, when they see a ball of light, are physically paralyzed. But this man in the 1990, I think it was 1996, he woke up at 5 a.m. and he was sitting on a hillside looking at the farm fields, setting the intention that he was going to film a crop circle being made. He's the only successful person. Millions of people have looked at this footage, and you can see it if you YouTube John Whaley, W-A-L-E-Y or W-H-A. But you just Google John Whaley crop circle, and you'll see these two balls of light lay the field down in an instant. Actually, you'd be better off going to my website because I elaborate on it. And I'm pattygreer.com, Pattygreer.com. I show the footage repeatedly. But what I did for some reason when I brought the footage home was I slowed it down and reversed it for no apparent reason, although they kind of guide me. And I found a line of communication in the original footage, the John Whaley footage, right before the field goes down. These two balls of light communicate. I locked the film. I started screaming. It's like millions of people have looked at this footage, and this is the actual way a crop circle is made. Most people debunk it because it's too unbelievable. But what I found
it really is
that
there's
a communication, a direct line, black and white dots between these two balls of light, and boom, the field goes down. Debunk that.
Yeah, I invite really everyone needs to go and look at this because I was watching your crop circle movie today and taking notes and being absolutely fascinated because for me, crop circles, aliens, all that kind of stuff is just, I love it. Absolutely love it. I don't need, skeptics can't talk to me about that kind of stuff because it's pretty much a no-brainer for me. But watching those, and when you think about crop circles, you think that there's some alien spaceship that's like all invisible that probably like flies over the field and does some weird stuff and makes this badass design. But to just watch, and this video footage, like you need to watch it like almost like 7, 10 times to really understand that these are just like two just phenomenal, fantastic little balls of light. They fly over this field, and as they're flying over the field, you can just see the ground depressing and the circles forming, and it's absolutely amazing. It is absolutely amazing. So people need to definitely get your video and definitely go and watch that footage. Now, Patty, you talk about that you had the moment that you had in the field that kind of started you on this journey of making all these movies and educating us all. Please tell us about that because I'd love to hear about that experience.
It was an amazing day. And in actuality, I was in the fields the year before. In 2006 was my first experience. But I had my daughter with me, so I had to, shall we say, behave. And it was totally pouring rain, so I couldn't lay down. I couldn't really take my time, but it was a shocking experience. And walking into the field, you go in the tractor lines, which are called tram lines. And it was pouring rain. The wheat was up to our hips. So I couldn't really take my time, but I could feel it. Everything in me just lit up. I had goosebumps, and my hair stood up on my head. And then I got into the formation in the rain. Excuse me. And it was really a shocking feeling. I mean, it's energizing, and it makes you shake, and you can feel that it's something that you've never experienced typically. I've never experienced it. So that was the first year I went, was in 2006. And I saw a few formations, but again, didn't lay down and have a spiritual flow experience. I knew I was hooked, though. So I went back in 2007 alone, and I spent 9 weeks in the crop circles. I began in Italy because they had 22 when England had 26 by June. So I thought, wow, Italy's almost as many as England. I knew that when I got to England, I wouldn't leave. So I figured I'd start and work my way up. So I went through Italy, and I speak pretty good Spanish, very little Italian, so it was not easy. And I'm going in obscure farmlands looking for somebody's field, like I'm sure that's going to be easy, and I'm alone in these little teeny shirts, and, here I am. So anyway, I found 3 of them, and it was dry, no energy, nobody even cared. There were no, crop circle researchers there. It was ultimately a waste of my time, but I had to have the experience to really understand that the best of the crop circles, in my opinion, at this point, are definitely within 10 miles of themselves in England. And the area is called Wiltshire, and it's somewhere between Stonehenge is to the east and Glastonbury is to the west, and these are very sacred sites. And right about in the middle is the Avebury stone circle, which is the largest stone circle in all of England, and I think it's in all of Europe. And it's even larger than Stonehenge. Stonehenge has larger stones, but the Avebury stone circle has more quantity of stones and takes up a larger space. And it is the center of where 3 underground streams come together, which for many sacred reasons has drawn people from hundreds of miles away. Every year they migrate to an area right near the Avebury stone circle. These are all sacred sites in this area. And where they come to is an area, a little mound called Filbury Hill. And Filbury Hill, Avebury stone circle, and around Stonehenge get dosed with crop circles every summer, the same fields over and over. Beautiful 2 1/4, 2.5 acres of wheat or barley or corn or canola, even Brussels sprouts they have seen laid to create a crop circle formation. They've even seen it in trees where the energies have been so strong that they've laid slender trees, like bent them 1 foot or 2 feet up from the base, and they just all bend over in the same direction. It's very phenomenal. We've seen them in ice and in snow and in water, these circles and sacred geometric patterns. So something and someone with a higher intelligence is giving us these messages. And what the messages are, in my opinion, and again, it's all perception, from the studies I've done, and I hang out with the most intense crappies on the planet. I mean, we meet every summer, and we spend weeks and weeks together in the crop circles, dirty boots, muddy knees. We take it seriously. And we all pretty much agree that these are sacred geometric patterns being gifted to us by a higher dimensional race of beings, and what they're doing is trying to help humanity survive and save this planet. And these messages are, being sacred geometry, they affect the mind on a subconscious level, which is going to affect the masses. If you're asleep, if you're awake, you look at a picture of a crop circle, it is going to move you in the direction of ascension. On a subconscious level, it really is affecting people, and that is the plan, I believe, of the circle makers. And the circle makers now being seen by many, many people as these balls of light. Well, what are the balls of light? And what's a spaceship? And this is where people probably have the biggest question, how is this happening? And again, this is my perception from years of study. What I feel it is the motherships, these big spaceships that are being seen and photographed by millions of people on the planet. They're staying above where the human can see. They're staying just high enough that they're not going to freak out humanity, because people get really, really scared when most people have had a pretty tough reaction to seeing spaceships up close or little alien beings up close. And I just spent the last week, I just spent the last week at the UFO International Conference. So I was with 600 to 800 people a day. Most of them have been abducted. Most of them have had experiences with UFOs. I have not been abducted. I've not been in a ship. I have not seen alien beings, but I'm going to go now to the answer to your question. What happened to me that day in the crop circle was my experience with extraterrestrial beings. I closed my eyes. From walking into the formation, it was mesmerizing, because I can feel that buzzy, tingling, lift your hair up sensation 30, 40 feet before getting into the formation. And then once you get to the opening, it is so magnificent, it's breathtaking, because you're in a whole bunch of wheat. You're just in a generic farm field, and you're walking down a tractor line, and all of a sudden, it opens up, and there's an entire swirled circle right in front of you. And they can be up to 60 to 90 feet in diameter. And you think, my God, look at this huge crop circle. And you'll walk around it very gently, and it's just perfect. Everything's laid just right. And then there's a little teeny pathway. Boom, there's another circle. And it just goes on and on and on. And when you're in it on the ground, you don't really know what the pattern is until you fly over it, or see a photo where somebody else has flown over it. I have a friend who mapped them out. He liked to try and guess what they look like from the air, and then somebody would show up who just flew, and we'd see a photo, and it's really quite amazing. So my day, when I laid down in the center, I walked into the formation, and there's that moment where you just are shocked because it's so perfect. And I went right to the center and put my head down, closed my eyes, and it was the first time I really had alone time, quiet time. And it was almost like being in a swirly dream, almost like being overly drunk. But when I knew that it was an experience that I didn't know that I would be able to decide to come back on a regular basis. So I thought, man, I'm going to really have to goose this to the max. So I really took my time and kind of passed out. And when I opened my eyes again, there was a swirl of little black mosquitoes right above my nose. And they swirled, and I was swatting them with my hand. And then I started looking past them. And for the first time in my life, I saw plasma. I saw plasma circles and swirly, almost like oil slicks moving through the sky, like in the shape of a long worm or a snake. And the plasma circles were clear as a bell. And it was like I could see the mosquitoes, and then I could also see the plasma beings, whatever they were. And they moved with a really strong intention, and it was like watching schools of fish. And I was in shock. I thought, I kept rubbing my eyes. I thought, my goodness, what am I seeing? And sometimes when we see those flicks of light, people will say, oh, it's just your veins, your blood veins, you know, but it's really not. When we're outside and we start seeing those little glints of light, you know what I'm talking about?
Absolutely.
And for the audience out there, I have taught so many people how to see the plasma beings, and I'm telling you, 8 out of 10 people see them. I'm going to give you a quick lesson on the air because all of you can see them.
Please do.
It's amazing. So most of you have seen these little glints of light. It's like when you're tired, you feel like, oh, I'm imagining it, these little glints of light. Sometimes out of the corner of your eye, you'll see a little flick or a flick, like a little flash. And you'll think, oh, I'm just tired, you know. But it's really not. What you're seeing is slightly through the veil into another dimension. And as we're moving closer toward 2012, the dimensions are thinning. And our eyes are capable of seeing so much more. I had never seen this until I laid on my back in a crop circle and had whatever the download was that I experienced there. But I know what I saw, I see in Denver now. I see it everywhere I go when I stop and take the time and look into the sky with the intention of seeing plasma. So you start by looking up. You don't want to look straight into the sun, of course. You want to look into more blue than clouds. But, you know, everybody's eyes will be different. So you want to relax your eyes until you start seeing those little glints of light, and most people can see those. And when you start watching them, you'll notice that they move in little jagged V's, and some are quick and some are slow, and so you'll realize this is not the veins in my eyes, because you'll see that these glints, they move with intention, and they definitely move with direction, and then you'll see more and more of them. And as you focus on nothing but them, the blue fades away, most likely you'll start seeing other things in the sky that are there all the time, everywhere. And when we talk about the elementals of our planet, we've got solids, our body, our house, liquids, gas, plasma, air. So plasma is between gas and air. It's lighter than gas, but heavier than air, so we can see it. It actually has mass, it has dimension, and it's something that all of us can see. I don't think you have to be struck in a crop circle to see what I'm seeing, because I've taken groups of people out, like I say, and I started them looking at the glints of light, focusing on that. I'm going through it again, and just relax. And these circles that I've been seeing, they look like a donut, and they're the see-throughness of a jellyfish, but they're, I think everybody will see them. It's pretty surprising what is in the sky that all of us can see. So what this was, and I don't know what they are, but I know that they're everywhere because I sit out on my deck here in a busy city, and I watch them. And I watch them everywhere I go when I take the time to look into the sky and think about nothing else but seeing the plasma. So when we look at that reality, and that's what my first experience was discovering that there is this element that is between us and air that has an energy, a frequency, and I think that there's something rather ET about the plasma beings, because the plasma is kind of clear like jellyfish, but the balls of light are something else. So I think we've got these motherships way up high sending down these satellites, which are the balls of light. I really believe that these balls of light are some kind of entity that's here with an intention to help humanity evolve. I know a lot of very advanced spiritual teachers that say they work with the balls of light, and I'm sure a lot of the audience out there has seen balls of light. This is not our imagination, that it's not a hallucination. You know, we're parallel universing so many different universes. So absolutely. I think that the more we allow ourselves to slip through the veils and be in these other parallel realities, the quicker we are going to ascend.
Now, you said that word twice, and I'm familiar with ascension, and I'm sure most of our listeners are, but I'd like to know, what does ascension mean for you when you talk about it, when you talk about ascending and, you know, these multiple realities and our thoughts and creation, you know, what's it mean to Patty?
Well, ascension to me is moving into the higher realms. Ascension is a journey that we are all on, some of us deciding to move quicker than others, but ascension, you know, we're talking about ascension in 2012. We know that things are going to change. We've got not only the Mayan calendar, the I Ching, but we've got all kinds of ancient predictions from the pyramids and the Egyptians to the Mayans to the Chinese to so many different study groups are all talking about the end of a long era of history. We've got tons of people going into, we're all going to die, oh my God, 2012, you know, the fear factor, which I could totally do without. And
me too.
The ascension is our opportunity to move into the next paradigm. It's where humanity is headed, as long as we can all agree. 51% of the planet's energy needs to be ascension-based, which is looking toward being more spiritual humans. That's what ascension is moving into a more spiritual consciousness as a race. And we're right now at the tipping point, which we all know, because we have so much greed on the planet that has done damage, just straight out damage, and it's still going on. So I think if we look at the formations this year in the crop circles, every year they have certain themes that are recurring themes. Well, very interesting, this year we had 3 different octopus formations. And look at all the squid. We had squid that beached in California, the size which nobody had seen before. It was a very odd thing, but we're starting to get lots of whales and lots of dolphins beaching in big groups. Well, this is horrific news. This is horrific, and we've got this island of trash, 90 feet deep, that's miles wide. They said twice the size of Texas. We have an island of trash, plastic, locked together somewhere between Japan and California coast. I mean, we've got this huge island of garbage in the ocean that's killing our fish. And we've got the military blowing all this sonar undersea. Well, the whales are saying, bye-bye, we can't live like this.
Right.
So the
and I think we're saying that same thing too, but yeah, keep going.
Well, we've got to do something about it. So here we are getting these messages in the crop circles. We had a whole bunch of fish formations in the last 2 years, surprising number of reminding us to look at the ocean, what we're doing. We had beautiful Mayan symbols this year, and we're seeing an awful lot of planetary orbit, missing Earth, Nibiru, the planet, the red planet. We're having so many messages of our changing solar system given to us in these crop circles. And even though some are being made by humans, I don't think it really matters that much, because if we can't tell the difference between the human formations and the circle maker formations, well, I think that there is something to be said for that, because the humans are being divinely guided to make these sacred geometric patterns. How great is that when we can't tell the difference?
Absolutely.
So we've got some of these, we've got 3 groups. I just learned from somebody who's English. We've got 3 groups of circle makers. And I don't know who they're working for. I don't know who's going to make these fields. And I'm not really that interested, but I did hear a group of them one night at a table, and they didn't know who I was. I didn't know who they were, but they were laughing about a formation that they had made. And 3 guys. They were out in the field. They were out in the field. They were making a crop circle. They had their headlamps on and all their gear. And the 3 of them got buzzed by a ball of light, and one guy wet his pants. I mean, a ball of light
phenomenal.
Came into the field and literally scared the piss out of them. And they were still laughing about it days later. So I think that there's something really serious going on, and for some reason, the world still thinks that all the crop circles are being made by Doug and Dave, ignoring the fact that Dave, or is it Doug, I'm not sure, one of them passed away 11 years ago.
Right.
And the world still thinks that the crop circles were like what? Some cool thing that was happening in the 80s by these 2 guys, or, but nobody talks about them. I don't know how the government has done such a good job to silence the reality that almost every summer there's a crop circle, 1 to 2 to 3 crop circles almost every single day in England within this 20-mile square area that's just pounded with exquisite formations year after year.
That's amazing.
It is.
I mean, I've got to repeat that. I mean, you're talking about 1 to 2 crop circles a day throughout the summer. And I think that's one of the reasons that people dismiss these things so easily, because I didn't even know that there were that many crop circles. I mean, I watched your documentary, and, I mean, you had a statistic on there that in 2007 there were 152 crop circles. And that number just absolutely blew my mind, because, you check out crop circles on the Internet, you tend to see the same ones kind of over and over again, the popular ones. So people really have no idea that this is going on a daily basis. There's no way, if it's going on a daily basis, and even when it's not, that these are all man-made.
Right.
For all of our listeners who are on the line, I know we've got a lot of live callers, chat rooms pretty much hyper. Just to revamp, we are talking with Patty Greer about crop circles and 2012. She has made some amazing documentaries, just a beautiful light worker. I'm so excited to be chatting with her. We will be taking callers and questions for Patty in about 10 more minutes, in about 10 minutes or so. But Patty, there was something from your film that I kind of wanted to talk to you about, because when I saw this picture, I almost thought that it wasn't real. From your first film that I watched, you talked about a crop circle where, or actually SETI sent out a code out into space, the binary code, and eventually they got an answer. And this crop circle to me was absolutely amazing. It was a face of an alien being, and then there was some code also. And this picture of this crop circle will blow your freaking mind. I mean, because it's almost like somebody just painted this onto the ground. Did you see that one?
Yeah, that one was amazing. That wasn't the SETI one. You're talking about 2 different stories, but now you're discussing the alien face and the disc. It was phenomenal.
Please.
That alien face. You're absolutely right. The Chilbolton formation. There were 2 different double formations.
It was the answer to the SETI one, right? Yeah.
Yes. But that one didn't have an alien face in it. The answer to the SETI was really unbelievable. What we did was we sent this message in binary code out into space. Yes. They didn't figure that we would get an answer back until after the turn of the century, which we're now in. But instead, they got a crop circle that was almost identical to what they sent out, and it was only within a few years that it came back, which was shocking. And it had only a few changes, which was, so what they did was they sent a message out into space, and then shortly thereafter, we had that same message returned to us in a crop circle. It looked almost like an Indian blanket with different patterns, but the patterns had changed, and the main changes were a different number of planets in our system. Humans had a different count of how many humans there were, the size of our head compared to the shape of our body. It looked more alien than ours. It was pretty much them giving us an answer to who they are as we sent out the information who we are. And in that message was how many stars we have, the size of humans, how many people we are. And so their answer came back with slightly different answers. And they also mentioned silicone.
Wow.
So that was one of the biggest clues about something that would enhance our future. A few years later, there was another double formation, which was the alien face and the disc. And this one was really, I have to say, a really shocking face that looked like an alien gray. That one was phenomenal. And this disc that was slid into the side of this formation along with the alien had a binary code that was dissected as a really powerful message to humanity. Beware the bearers of false gifts and their broken promises. Much pain, but still time. Believe there is good out there. Conduit closing.
Wow.
So they gave us a really heavy message, which to me says, watch out for the greedy ones. It's going to be painful, but believe, because there is still time. And the other sentence, which I forgot, was, we oppose deception. Conduit closing. Pretty bold statement. I didn't mean to almost forget that. We oppose deception. I believe that that's one of the biggest and strongest messages from the ETs now.
Absolutely.
And so what they're saying is they're not going to interfere with humanity, but they're going to assist us by giving us messages, but we have to clean it up ourselves. So it's an agreement with the alien races and humanity throughout history that they can't fix our mess, but they can help us figure out how to do it ourselves. And I believe that's what these crop circles are about. So I want to mention what I did was I redid my first crop circle movie because I was really inexperienced. Now that I've spent years in the circles, I made a killer movie, which is called Crop Circles, 2010 Update, The Wake Up Call. I just put it on Amazon.com if you can't find my website. And I think it's like number 15 in the crop circle movies because it's brand new. But this one really takes people into the fields, and it just won Best Feature Film, UFO or Related at the International UFO Conference. It also won, which really touches my heart, Best Musical Score. It's all my harp music. That before I shredded my fingertips, it was all my music, and people just loved it. But I think that the difference in my movies compared to many other filmmakers is that I'm a woman, and my movies have a feminine touch. People can tell it's like, this doesn't feel like the rest of the documentaries. There's so much music and so much cinematography, and it's artistic rather than being more factual and data-infested. Mine are like a chick flick documentary.
Yeah. I love how you said that, but you know what? Even your first movie, Patty, the one that I watched, the first crop circle you did, it was absolutely phenomenal. So I definitely have to get this new one that you made. It was really good.
Well, the new one. The new one. Okay.
Go ahead. No, go right ahead. The new one.
Well, the new one, I think it really takes you on a journey, and I have a lot of I have the farmers talking and a lot of the people in England talking, and I think you hear a lot of things that I haven't heard said before. The main one for me is that some people are believing, the farmers that have lived there for years and years, that it's some kind of military laser testing coming from outer space that's laying these fields down. I personally don't think it's that because there's too much magic in it. But one thing I want to mention, because there's going to be scientifically minded people out there, is that 96 or 7% of the crop circles are on top of an aquifer. So there's something that's coming down from the sky that's got a microwave effect because these formations have a huge amount of heat that hits it instantly, and I think that there's something about the water below and the heat above that's creating the perfection of the lay because it is almost too neat to be true. And these lays go on for, like I said, 2+ acres of just perfect formations. From the ground, I don't know how they couldn't possibly do it. It has to be done from above to get these circles perfect in undulating land. So people need to go to this website to see tons of photos of crop circles. Number one, go to my website because all my trailers, which I have 4 of them on the website, have tons of crop circles. pattygreer.com, PATTYGREER.com. But there's also the cropcircleconnector.com. And people, you should write this one down. I live by it all summer long, cropcircleconnector.com. For $15 or $20, you can join as a member and go into the archives. Every crop circle for all over the world that's been documented is on their website, and it is fabulous. Every day we get up at crack of dawn and we go to the crop circle connector and we know that there's a new formation, looks like this. Oh my God, let's go. So
everybody knows all about. Yeah, definitely. So I plugged both of those links in the chat room. So everybody who hasn't gone and you're all about crop circles, go right now and spread the word. There was this awesome comment in the chat room for you, Patty, from Creative Things 10 that said, Patty, you've been following all your stepping stones in life and it all gets used in the end. Great that you prepared your music. Oh, they started typing. I lost it. Great that you prepared your music ahead of time.
You know, the amazing thing is I wrote this music in 2001. Now, I had no idea that I was writing it for a film down the road someday, but the man that I was in love with at the time was in my home. He owns a recording studio, and so he cut my record, which is most of the music in this movie. And he and I didn't talk about spiritual things a lot. Of course, I celebrated the moon and the full moon and the dark moon, and, you know, I've got all my spiritual stuff all over the place, but he and I didn't go there together. That was me and my girlfriends. So I wake up one morning, and he's laying there and just completely staring at the ceiling, looking petrified. I said, hi, honey, didn't sleep? And he said, you remember what you said in your sleep last night? I'm like, well, no, honey, I was sleeping. You said it's not what you see, it's what you don't see. I was like, what? And then he said, and then you said, it's not who you know, it's who you really are. I was like, well, if I really said that in my sleep, I'm going to write that down. I love it for lyrics. You will hear those lyrics in all 4 of my movies. Those words come in.
I love that. And it's
I'm looking
profound.
at him.
It really is.
Well, I said it in my sleep, and then as I'm looking at him, he said, but that's not all. I was like, what? He said, now this is before I knew anything about orbs. I knew nothing, and I never had the experience. I got frozen. So he's just staring, looking petrified. He said, after you said that, you woke me up, and I said, I'm sorry. He said, oh, no. I watched these 2 headlights come across the hill. Now, I had a house in the mountains in Colorado, and I'm sleeping. He's watching these headlights come across the hill, and he said, I realized there was no driveway. And one of the balls of light came through the wall of your bedroom, went around the circle, around our heads, around the ceiling, out through the hall, and out through the lower window of your living room. I'm watching him, and I said, you must be kidding. I know that great dream. And he said, it wasn't a dream. I know what I saw, but that's nothing compared to what happened next. I was like, what? He said, another ball of light comes in. From the outside, it was white, came through the wall, and it turned green, like one of those glow sticks that you break, and it lights up bright neon green. I'm thinking, honey, what happened to you last night? He said, I know what I saw. And I was shaking you, and you wouldn't wake up. I'm thinking, this is not true. This can't have happened. And I hadn't heard of it yet. He had a full-on experience, and I was locked out. But something in that experience began me writing all these songs. So I'm not realizing that the balls of light really did visit me in 2001, but I was locked out. This man who didn't care at all about these things, seemingly, was having this experience. So here I am years later. Now I've written all these songs that make total sense in the movies. I have this line, it's not what you see, it's what you don't see. It's perfect for all of the films. And after that morning, when he told me what happened, he never dated me again, shall we say.
Oh, well, chicken.
Yeah. No kidding. He's like, I don't know what you got going in your house, but I ain't coming back. So he was actually shaking me in the bed, shaking me, trying to get me to wake up, and I wouldn't wake up, which is a very unusual thing. So here I am years later. Now I'm going to the UFO conference. Every summer I'm in the crop circles. Now my close friend over there is Barbara Lamb. Barbara Lamb is one of the top crop circle researchers since 1991. She's been going in the fields every year, and she's written books on the crop circles. So she and I now are spending a week together in Wiltshire during the summer, sharing a B&B because we take it seriously. We get up early and get out there and go all day long. So Barbara Lamb also is a psychotherapist who has done over 1,800 regressions on people who have experienced UFOs in their lives. They've been abducted. They've seen ships. She's the therapist. So now I'm with her, and I'm telling her the story about 2001 with the balls of light coming in my bedroom. Now I know it's true. Oh, my God, he wasn't making it up. And, oh, my God, I had a download back then. So I said, why is it that a guy who doesn't seem interested at all would have the full-on experience and I would be locked out? She said, is he quiet? Does he have, like, social anxiety? And I said, yeah. She said, well, the fact that he could shake you, physically move you, is extremely uncommon. Most times when a ball of light comes into the presence of humans, the human can see and think, but the human cannot move or say anything or yell. It's all telepathic, and the human is typically paralyzed. So she said it's really uncommon that he would have been able to consciously shake you, let alone shake you until the headboard hit the wall like he was describing, which says to her that he had been abducted numerous times before.
Wow.
And that's why he has social anxiety and fear of humanity, because he'd had ET experiences and never gotten any help. So now I'm calling him years later trying to say, I know what happened to you. I know what happened to you. I've got people that can help you. He wouldn't even return my call.
Well, you know, everybody in their time.
Right.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are talking with Patty Greer, who is having an amazing experience in her life. Crop circle documentarian, musician, wonderful stories about orbs in 2012. We've got about 14 minutes or so left. I want to get this caller because I'm sure they've got some amazing questions to ask you. Just great information. And again, everybody, we got to thank Patty for coming on tonight. She's got pneumonia. That's why we've shortened our show from 2 hours to 1. But she's hanging in there like a trooper, and we can hear you just fine. So let me get this caller who's been waiting so patiently. 111, it's Skype. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Oh, hi, Patty. This is Tricia. And I'm calling from Los Angeles, and also, oh my goodness, I've forgotten your name.
Right, DCA.
Anyway, it'll all come back.
Go ahead.
Yeah. I actually wanted to tell you about an experience that I had when you were talking about the crop circles and the patterns and the geometric sort of symbols and things like that. Mm-hmm. I started to feel a vortex of energy coming over me in an early morning meditation about 5, and I kind of got thrusted against the wall, kind of like with this energy coming, and then about probably I'd say 25, 30 different mandala kind of beautiful symbols, all just flicked in my third eye, just went one after another, with the brightest blue background. And I was sort of frozen in that space. They sort of went, do-do-do-do, and then they went. And I just went, whoa, something just got downloaded. You know, like I could feel this pattern. And I thought, wow, it had to have come from some extreme source of high, whoever, wherever, I'm not sure. But yeah, so there's been a few things like that have happened to me, and it's they're not unexplainable to me in being a foreigner anymore. You know, I welcome it. And
beautiful.
I think when you get to that state, they come back to you, and you know, like you were saying, you can see and manifest these things. But it's really funny how things come about when you're talking about your music. I put that little comment in there about how you prepare yourself and things just sort of unfold.
Supposed to be doing this, and then this year I did a remake, a much better upgrade of my first movie, because I had some phenomenal information in it. But I thought, because I'd never made a movie, that you stick the greatest stuff in the way back. So at an hour 20 minutes, I really hit them with a big thing, and an hour 20, people are tired. So I took the most phenomenal part, which is that the John Bailey footage of the most famous crop circle footage, where 2 balls of light, you see them moving over a field, and this is the only human that I know of that actually got a full formation on camera. Most people, when they see a ball of light, are physically paralyzed. But this man in the 1996 then he woke up at 5 a.m. and he was sitting on a hillside looking at the farm fields, setting the intention that he was going to film a crop circle being made. He's the only successful person. Millions of people have looked at this footage, and you can see it if you YouTube John Whaley, W-A-L-E-Y or W-H-A. But you just Google John Whaley crop circle, and you'll see these two balls of light lay the field down in an instant. Actually, you'd be better off going to my website because I elaborate on it. And I'm pattygreer.com, P-A-T-T-Y-G-R-E-E-R.com. I show the footage repeatedly, but what I did for some reason when I brought the footage home was I slowed it down and reversed it for no apparent reason, although they kind of guide me, and I found a line of communication in the original footage, the John Whaley footage, right before the field goes down. These two balls of light communicate. I locked the film. I started screaming. It's like millions of people have looked at this footage, and this is the actual way a crop circle is made. Most people debunk it because it's too unbelievable. But what I found
it really is
that
there's
a communication, a direct line, black and white dots between these two balls of light, and boom, the field goes down. Debunk that.
Yeah, I invite really everyone needs to go and look at this because I was watching your crop circle movie today and taking notes and being absolutely fascinated because for me, crop circles, aliens, all that kind of stuff is just, I love it. Absolutely love it. I don't need, skeptics can't talk to me about that kind of stuff because it's pretty much a no-brainer for me. But watching those, and when you think about crop circles, you think that there's some alien spaceship that's like all invisible that probably like flies over the field and does some weird stuff and makes this badass design. But to just watch, and this video footage, like you need to watch it like almost like 7, 10 times to really.
To be my career is that the movies have seemed to make themselves. Everybody that I need shows up. I get an email, hi, I just saw your website and I've got these orb photos. Boom, I've got orb photos for the next movie. Everybody just seems to show up, and the movies are effortless.
That's phenomenal. I love that kind of synchronicity. That's phenomenal.
Well, it seems like that's how we can tell when life is working, when we're on the right path. And there's other parts of my life this year alone where I've had really huge, shocking challenges. But again, we know that our mind is going to create our reality. So when I focus on those really challenging things, well, that's the kind of day I'm going to have. But I've kind of learned to step over the stuff that we don't want to really focus our minds on and move into all the time what I want to be working on. And that's why these movies have been such a gift, because they've just completely taken me out of the life that I used to have, which, I'm in my midlife. And I knew I was ready for something entirely different, but nothing could have prepared me for this. So my third movie, 2012, we're already in it. It did win Best Feature Film at the UFO conference, which was a true confirmation that I'm.
Our guest for this evening is Patty Greer. Patty has had a fascinating life so far, and she's not even done. For 30 years, she was a singer and a songwriter. She was a pianist. The piano was my love. And she was also a harpist. She hurt her hands in 2005, and that has forced her to refocus. And what a refocus she has done. Her movie 2012, We're Already in It, won the prestigious 09 EBE Award for Best Feature Film from UFO related at the International UFO Congress Convention. It was also screened at the Mood Dance Film Festival in Boulder, Colorado. Wake Up Call, anybody listening, and that was about crop circles. I believe that was her first film, but she'll correct me if I'm wrong. And then she recently just put out another movie about crop circles with a 2012 update, and she has won 2 more awards at the 2010 conference. And Patty, are you there?
I am here.
Hello, hello. Welcome, welcome.
Thank you very much. It's kind of fun to sit back and just listen to my life go by.
Being a writer, I'm never good at like bios or anything like that, so I'm definitely going to let you plug yourself all the way here, all over the place tonight. Tell us about this awesome award that you have just won. Again, like 2 more.
Well, I never even thought about making movies in my life. I never held a movie camera, never even thought about writing a screenplay. But I laid in a crop circle in England in 2007, and 6 months later I had a crop circle movie. 6 months after that, I had a UFO and ETs and abductees movie. 6 months later, I made a 2012 movie that started winning awards, and now here I am a year later with a fourth movie and a fifth almost done. And I had no social life. I don't know what hit me, but all of a sudden, after that day in the crop circles, all I wanted to do was take pictures and tell stories about UFOs, ETs, and crop circles. I know that I had an interesting download that day because my life completely changed, and it was instantaneous, which is pretty much how the crop circles are going down. But humans going into the formations and spending any length of time can't help but be affected. And what a gift it's been. And now I'm just starting to come out of it and start breathing and having life again. But my life really became just making movies. And in these 3 years, I've just pretty much loaded my life into it 15 hours a day, just face down editing. And something that's really given me reason to believe that it's supposed